What's going on, everybody? This is Luke from South Beach Sports, and today we're going to talk about the Miami Hurricanes spring game, which happened yesterday. I'm going to get into some of the stats, some of the top performers, and just give my opinions and thoughts on what I thought was a very successful day for a lot of Canes. So the offensive starters for Miami were as followed: at quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke; running back, Jalen Knighton; left tackle, Zion Nelson; left guard, Ja'Kai Clark; center, Corey Gaynor; right guard, Nevon Donaldson; right tackle, DJ Scaife; and the wide receivers were as followed: Mike Harley, Keyshawn Smith, and Charleston Rambo; and at tight end was Michael Parrott. I believe that's how you say his last name, not 100% sure. If I'm wrong, then I do apologize. So some of the top performers on offense was Jake Garcia. He finished the game with 19 for 25 for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Van Dyke, who went 12 for 17 for 102 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Knighton, who had 7 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. Keyshawn Smith also played very well. He had 3 catches for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mark Pope redeemed himself after an early drop. He had 6 catches for 115 yards, which was the most by any Hurricane receiver. Xavier Restrepo had 4 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And Charleston Rambo, who I believe was the most impressive wide receiver, who had 7 catches for 74 yards. Those stats were presented by David Wilson, and these defensive stats are presented by Manny Navarro. So Cam Kitchens, the freshman, had 6 tackles and an interception. Chase Smith, another freshman, had 6 tackles and 1 pass breakup. Isaiah Dunson had 5.5 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and a fumble recovery. Avante Williams had 4.5 tackles, 2 pass breakup and 2 pass breakups. Gervin Hall had 4 tackles and a pass breakup. And Deandre Johnson, the defensive end, who I was very impressed by, had 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack, and 1 safety. Even though it really doesn't matter, for those of you who do care, Team Hurricane beat Team Ibis 27-19. And the thing about spring games is that you really can't look at the units as a whole, especially when there are so many injuries and so many players out. You just have to look at the individual players and the individual successes or failures of players. So I saw some things on Twitter that were criticizing the defense, that the defense didn't look that great. But you have to factor in that a lot of what the defense was running was very vanilla, very basic. Same can be said for the offense. I mean, it was a very simple and, again, vanilla game. So I would just look at some of the individual performances and the individual standouts rather than looking at units and either the offense or the defense as a whole. So to get into some more analysis, I first want to commend Andres Borregales on a 3-for-3 kicking game. The freshman really looked impressive and sharp on all his kicks, and I expect the kicking game to leave just where it left off under his older brother, Jose. To get into who was back there returning kicks and punts, as that was a huge issue for the Canes last year. The Canes had Keyshawn Smith and Charleston Rambo getting early reps as kick returners, and Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback transfer from Georgia, was getting early reps at punt returner. The biggest thing to take away from the first quarter was, I think, the connection between Jake Garcia and Charleston Rambo. They connected on, I believe, 4 straight passes on one drive, which concluded in a Mike Harley touchdown. I thought both Jake Garcia and Van Dyke played very impressive games, but it really got off to very impressive starts, which is very important. I also liked how Jake Garcia showed very mature pocket presence early. It just looked veteran-like. He didn't look nervous or uncertain of himself in the pocket. He was maneuvering, his footwork was impeccable, and I was just very impressed by that. In the second quarter, we saw the run game open up a little bit with the holes opened up by the offensive line. There was a big run from Isaiah Cashwell as the offensive line just created an exodus for Cashwell to run and get, I believe it was a 20 to 25 yard gain. Jalen Knighton also had a touchdown, which he showed his breakaway speed, but that touchdown run was initially started based off the monster block by Jalen Rivers. Rivers is an offensive lineman, which I'm very excited to see. He was a freshman last year, and of course, he regained his eligibility as a freshman. So I'm very curious to see his development, and I believe that he will crack the rotation in some sort of depth role, and he's definitely a future starter on the Canes O-line. We also saw some impressive defensive back work from some of the younger Canes cornerbacks and safeties. There was a beautiful pass breakup by Isaiah Dunson, which almost resulted in an interception. Avonte Williams, who was very impressive today, had a great pass breakup, and Kim Kitchens also had a very impressive open field tackle on Deontay Johnson. To harp on Deontay Johnson for a moment, I really did not know who he was, and I'm sure a lot of the Canes fan base did not really know who he was coming into the spring game, as he is a preferred walk-on, so he really doesn't have that same notoriety as a lot of scholarship players have, but he just balled out. He had this one play where he was running down the sideline and then spin back, putting the moves on a defender, and he ran for, I would say, like 20 to 25 yards upfield on that catch, and he really just looked confident, and confidence is needed in this wide receiver room, especially after the debacle from last year in that room. And he not only brings good size at 6'2", but he brings good hands. He didn't drop any passes, and I'm really intrigued to see what role he could carve out for the Hurricanes come next season. I also want to make known that striker and true freshman Chase Smith made his presence felt early. He is absolutely the future at that striker position, and I'm very intrigued to see what his development will look like in the next few years. Those are some of my first half thoughts. The second half was not really as interesting, as a lot of the players who entered into the game were lower depth guys who probably won't receive any playing time anytime soon. It was also a running clock, so there weren't as many plays in total as in the first half. I do think that Keyshawn Smith was the top performer in that second half, as he had 2 touchdown receptions, including 1 touchdown pass from Ryan Rizek, where he went up and corralled the ball and did not leave an opportunity for the defensive back to make a play on it, which is very important for a receiver and showed a lot of confidence. Deandre Johnson, the transfer defensive end from Tennessee, also had a sack. He was definitely my top D lineman today. He played very well. He beat Zion Nelson cleanly on one of the plays in the first half, and that's no easy task, guys. I believe that Zion Nelson is probably the best O-lineman the Hurricanes currently have. I also noticed in the second half that Cam Williams and DJ Ivey were hurt on the sidelines. I'm really not sure what those injuries are, but I'm sure we'll hear more about them in the upcoming days. So my MVP for the spring game had to have been Jake Garcia. He played exceptional. He showed incredible maturity and leadership on the sidelines. He was very amped up and just a supporter of his teammates. And I really think that Jake Garcia could be the future of Miami. That 2022 QB battle with Jake Garcia, Tyler Van Dyke, and upcoming recruit Ja'Cory Brown, who recently committed to the Hurricanes in the class of 2022. Those three are going to have an absolutely legendary quarterback battle, which I cannot wait to see. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you enjoy content like this, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That would mean so much for this growing channel. Also, go comment down below your thoughts on Saturday's spring game. I thought overall it was a success for a lot of Miami Hurricanes, so I want to hear your opinions down below. With that being said, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.